Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk about Microsoft capability, which is called as administrative unit, right? And how we can use those effectively in order to put all the different ways, including groups as well as user accounts and devices in a structured way to manage those very effectively and grouping together them into the administrative units to manage effectively with limited scopes and permission levels, right? And then we can leverage those for all other administrative capabilities as well, right? So first of all, what is administrative unit, right? So there are many different definitions if you go with that. And if we or I were to talk about it, it is going to be a kind of a structured way to manage users and devices and grouping them together so that we can assign the membership or the roles and permissions and whatever it is to manage those effectively, right? And we can manage with attributes as well, right? By automating, adding and removing members basis on the specific attributes and roles and uh, different rules basically in the dynamic nature, right? So that would be a kind of simple and straightforward definition if we go with that, right? So there are different rules, or I would say the key membership rules of uh, administrative units, which includes attributes for rules, right? And then which is going to allow us to dynamically add the rules. Those rules can be used for adding users, devices, and groups so that we can take the appropriate actions in order to manage those effectively, right? And then the next is object type limitations, where we can create dynamic AUs for users and devices, but not for both at the same time. That's the one of the way for this is available. And the main and very important part of this is that administrative units are not supporting groups currently when those are in a dynamic in nature. Dynamic in nature means if we are creating administrative units with a dynamic query or dynamic rule or membership type, then it is not going to accommodate the groups in it in order to manage those effectively. And it is only supporting for users and devices at this moment, right? There are requirements for licenses as well. So it supports or it needs at least Entra ID P1 or P2 license, which has the unique permissions and capabilities, right? And that is also possible. But when we wanted to use and leverage it for, then there is no license needed for devices, right? So that's the one of the way that we can leverage it with, right? So I'll talk few of the prerequisites for the same. As I talked about the prerequisites with licensing, it needs P1 or P2 license for each tenant level at least, and then we can leverage it for administration of administrative units and the management and membership management, everything. It needs minimum permission of privileged role administrator or equivalent, even if we don't assign or provide any high level role, include maybe security administrator or maybe Entra or maybe global admin role, right? So those are not required for the same, but at least we should have a minimum level of role that can allow us to manage administrative units and allow us to provision and create and everything together, right? So there are different tools that we can use in order to manage and use it, including Graph PowerShell module as well as PowerShell, and then we should have appropriate consents if we are going with the Graph Explorer, and the Graph API is another one of the way for this same, right? And the environment is pretty straightforward. If we have Entra tenant, right, as soon as we have appropriate permissions, and it is going to allow us. But there's one thing to note is that currently it is not supported, right, with the Azure government capability. It is available only global Azure cloud currently. Maybe that would be available in future, right? So yeah, that is the prerequisites for the same. And I'm going to jump onto the demo and show you how we can create it directly, and then how we can use it in both way, assigned way as well as dynamic way, so that you can also experience the same, right? And let me share my screen quickly. All right. So I'm in Entra ID portal here, right? And from here, you can go to identities, then roles, and here is the admin units. So once you click on it, you will see a bunch of admin units if you have created already. And if you are not, then there's option at the top pane. Here you can simply click on add button and give it a name. But now, before that, I wanted to show you something here under the membership type column. You are seeing that there are different types, including assigned, dynamic, right? So those are the different types which we can create with. But as soon as we create any administrative unit, it is going to be on the assigned membership role or type. It is not going to be created dynamically, automatically, or during the creation process. But after creation or once we create it, then we get option to choose to change the membership type, right? So that is the expected. And while creating it, it is not going to give us option to make that change. So let's say I'm creating one here, and let me give it a name, AUs for East India. So I'm just giving it a name, administrative units for East India, and description, and is the option for us restricted management administrative unit. If in case we wanted to restrict management on this administrative unit, even if the person who has global administrator role, even they won't also be able to manage it effectively. So this way we can restrict it. So currently I'm not going to make any change. Click next here. And from here, we can add any additional role or anything that we wanted to assign to this administrative unit. But for now, I'm not going to add anything and simply going to click next and create it. So now you have seen that we don't see any option to change the membership type during this AU creation, right? So that is the expected behavior. Here we can see that this is created and click on it. So once we click on this, you see that there are management capabilities for users, groups, and devices, and even roles and administrators as well, right? And at the end, under we have bulk operations that we can get the results. Now, if I go to properties here, you'd see that there's a membership type option, and it's set to assigned as automatically, which is a by default behavior, right? That's going to happening automatically, and we are not going to, or we don't get option to change that during the creation process. But when we come here and we get this option to change it on dynamic user, dynamic device, right? But we don't see the dynamic groups anywhere, right? And even in the group type, we have dynamic groups for M365 and security groups, right? And those groups has also the similar membership types that we can leverage, right? But now this administrative unit can accommodate a specific group. So I'll show you that. So from here, I can either create a brand new group or add existing group, whichever is in scope for me to add. Let's say I wanted to add this group, so I can simply add it. So this is going to be added. It's going to be taking maybe a few minutes. Let me try another group if it is not showing up here. let's say this one. All right, so under users, we don't see any users because this has a assigned permissions or assigned membership type, and we have not added anything, right? So let's refresh it once again, open it back, and click on groups. Perfect. So here are those groups I have added because this is a assigned type. If I go back to the properties and change it to dynamic users or dynamic device, and we get options to add a dynamic query. So basis on the dynamic query, it is going to work as an, it is going to effectively add all those attributes or whatever the query that we are going to put in here. For example, I'm adding a query, accounts enabled equals to true. Only those users I wanted to be added in this group or this administrative units, not group, right? And another expression, I wanted to add, let's say, company name equals to MSA VNDS space INC, right? So this is the another query that I wanted to. And once I'm done with this, I can simply save it. So once I save this change from here as well, and I'll show you what happens when we go to group section here, and you'd see that this pop-up has come up, which says that groups cannot be added in this administrative unit because the membership type is a dynamic user or dynamic device, right? And also you see that all those options are grayed out, right? We don't have that options to do it. But when I had added this group previously, those groups are available here, and we don't see any options to remove them as well, right? So this could be a situation for us when we have added and later we convert it into the dynamic, and then we wanted to maybe remove specific groups from that respective administrative units, but which is not allowing us because of this change, right? And let's try it again and try to assign, make that change back to assigned, and we can see whether it is allowing us to change it or what. Yes. See, here you can see that it is allowing us to change. Let's say I will simply remove those groups from here, and those should be removed after 1 or 2 minutes. It is going to take a bit of time. And you can also see that there is no users found yet. So we can go back to type here because we have changed the assignment. That is why the dynamic query did not execute. Otherwise, it would have executed and it would have added all the users which are matching with that particular dynamic membership rules, right? So let's go back here. It is assigned. Here you can see the group is added or still showing up. Let me try it removing again, and it is just taking the time. Just open it up and let's see. Perfect. So the group has been removed, and then we can go back to properties again and then change its dynamic users. Similarly, we can change it to dynamic devices as well. So there is also no issue, right? And there is also no problem in that using that membership rule as well. So I'm going to add a rule. The next expression here is going to be, let's say, company name equals to space INC, and save this and save this as well. Perfect. So now it should execute this rule, right? And then it is going to add those users which are matching with those rules or those query, right? No results. I believe we need to change the query here under the. Also, you see that once we change this, we have dynamic membership rule section here, and which we can add it. So simply I will keep this one rule only, and we can match with it because I think there are no users with enabled account which has this company name assigned. So it is not going to execute because if there is no records, perfect. So here's the one of the record you can see, which is automatically been executed. And there are few more records. Those would also be added here in moment, or it is going to take few seconds maybe. So perfect. So this way it has executed the rule successfully, and it has added that respective user which is going to match with this attribute basically, right? So this is the one of the way to use effectively dynamic administrative units. And then it is not only the single way, but if you see that there are bunch of operators or attributes for us, including extension attribute from 1 to 15, and then other attributes that those are pre-defined or pre-built attributes that we can use, right? And then we can put values or operators that we wanted to match with, and basis on that it is going to simply execute those rules, right? So this way it is going to simply be executing, and then it is going to make the appropriate enrollments or rolling out of those features. Not the features exactly, but the execution of membership rule directly, right? So yeah, this way, uh, perfect. Here you can see other few more users have been added and executed successfully. And this way it is going to be added, right? So yeah, that is all I wanted to show you, and make use of this administrative unit effectively for your requirements. And then you can uh, definitely use it for your all different use cases, right? So that's all for this video. Hope you like it. Please do like, share, subscribe, and also do watch other videos around 365 and Azure and FinOps and Entra ID basically. And yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.